afternoon, students. I'm Professor Kalish. I'll be taking your pre-placement training session on estimations and project management, in which we are going to see the cost estimation models, quality assurance, and project management. Okay. So previously, in the topic of software engineering and project management, we have seen the SDLC models and agile models. Today, we are covering the part of project management. So let's begin the today's lecture. So first concept in the part of project management is, what do you mean by a project? So project is basically a temporary endeavor undertaken to accomplish unique product, service, or a result. So this is basically the definition for a what do you mean by a project. Here each and every word has a meaning. A project is something that is temporary endeavor. Temporary means it has certain time frame, right? So it is a temporary endeavor undertaken to accomplish a unique product, service, or a result. A project can be a product, a project can be a service for something, a project can be a result, right? So a project is something that is a temporary endeavor undertaken to accomplish unique product, service, or a result. So this is basically what do you mean by project is. A project can be anything. We are talking about the software project in this. Next is, what do you mean by project management? So project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques. So these four terms are related to the project management. Project management is an application of knowledge, application used with skills, tools, and techniques to different project activities. So what are the different project activities we are going to see? To meet the project requirements. So whatever requirements that have been given by the customer, to meet those requirements, we need to apply the knowledge, skills, tools, and technique. So that is in combination known as project management. So the next concept, the most important concept in project management is 4 P's of project management. So what are those 4 P's? That is project, people, product, and process. So we are going to see each and every P, what it says. Okay. So we'll start with the people first. Identifying the roles the people play in most of any project given is a first step towards a successful project. Project cannot be completed if we do not have any people. That is nothing but any human resource in our company, right? So that is a first most important part that is required in project management, that is people. People are the primary resources on every project, and well-managed team can greatly increase the chances for success. Roles that people play in project management includes the project manager, the project team member, the sponsorer. In short, any part played by a person who is involved in that project is nothing but the people. It is also known as the stakeholder. Okay. So next we'll see what do you mean by the product. As a name implies, it is basically a deliverable of my project, right? Whenever I make something which is nothing but I undertake any project, the result of that project is either a product, either a service, either a result, right? So that product is something that I've undertaken, and that is a deliverable of my project. The project manager defines the project scope to ensure the successful outcome, controls the scope creep as well as technical hurdles that may encounter. The product does not necessarily need to be restricted to the software. The project management can be applied to all the industries, with the software development being the one key element. So you may take as a civil industry or a mechanical industry, they also need a software to run their business, right? So product can be anything. Next is a process. The third P of project management is process. A project manager and team member should have a methodology and a plan that outlines their approach. That means each and every company had some set of defined processes, right? that defined processes leads the project to a successful project. So those processes are integral part of the project management. Whenever, without clearly defined any processes, team members will not know what is to be done and when to carry out the project activities. However, this problem can be avoided through the comprehensive early stage processes planning. Using the right processes will increase the project execution success rate that meets the original goals and objectives. Whenever processes are in set, then there won't be any lag or there won't be any risk issues. So the chances of project becoming a successful project increases. And the last part is nothing but my project. So if you can see over here, a project has a part of people. It is comprises of product, has been applied with different processes. So all these three P's makes the most important P of project management, that is project. Okay. This is basically the fourth P of project management, where there is a project managers whose roles and responsibility come into the picture. He or she must guide the team members to achieve the project goals and objectives. Project manager must delegate the task, help the team members whenever needed, and this will be set to the requirements. It will give the correct deliverable using the processes that have been set by that institute. So this is basically the four P's of project management. That is project, people, processes, and product. Okay. We'll come to the next point, that is project life cycle. So we have seen basically the SDLC and agile models, right? Those are basically the software life cycles. Software is also a project. So each and every project has its life cycle. So every project has to go through the series of phases from initiation to the closure. And this is how we call the project life cycle. So the first step in the project life cycle is initiation, where find the answers to can or should we do the project. That is nothing but all the requirement gathering, all the feasibility study that we have seen in terms of SDLC and agile models come into the picture here in project life cycle as initiation phase. Okay, so basically during the initiation phase, we provide the business case to the customer. So whatever requirements that we have gathered, we analyze those requirements and create a business case. A business case is nothing but a document that has been produced to the management for the proposal of that project. So whenever we propose a business case, that is nothing but we are proposing a solution that this was my problem and I'm overcoming this problem with the help of this methodology. So kindly approve it. On the approval, the project charter has been made. So the initiation phase has a deliverable called as business case. So that business case helps me to find out what are the alternative solutions that are there to solve that problem or to conduct that project. So all those things comes under initiation. The next phase is planning phase. Defines the way of doing the project. As soon as business case gets approved up from the top management, then planning stage comes into the picture. What happens in planning? A project charter will be made. What do you mean by the project charter then? A project charter is a document that comprises of all the things that are related to that project. Whether it is a budget related things, whether it is a human resource related thing, whether it is a resources that are required, tools that are required, or technology that is required. So all those plans comprises of the project charter. So in the planning step, we define all those things and comprise in a single document called as project charter. There are two versions available for the project charter. One version is a one-page document in which I'll just list out the things that is there in the project, and one is a detailed version where all possible information right from the start date to end date to the each and every phases, all the things are documented. The next step is execution. Actually puts the project plan into the motions. So that is nothing but whenever I have the business case approved, I create the project charter. The implementation step is nothing but implementing that project. So we can use any of the SDLC model or agile model for the implementation. So the models that we have seen are nothing but a part of a project life cycle. Okay. So execution basically comes into the picture whenever we are completed with the project charter and we are about to start with the project. So all the requirements are understood, all the resources are gathered, then we can start with the execution. The next step is monitoring and control. Compare the progress report of the project with the planned project. So that is nothing but whenever I have the execution phase going on, that phase can be going on for over the months, right? So monitoring and controlling that project becomes essential. That how much work is going on, what are the resources needed, what are the problems or difficulties that employees are facing. So all those things are nothing but the monitoring and control. As soon as all the reports or daily reports or weekly reports or monthly reports are captured, then monitoring and control will help me to compare the progress report of the project with the planned project. So all the planning dates are defined in project charter. If suppose I'm saying that this model should get completed by the July end, and actually if I wanted to check that whether what is the progress of that model, and after checking, after monitoring and controlling, I came to know that the model might get delayed due to the resources unavailability, or a resources unavailability might be in terms of technical resources, might be in terms of human resources, right? So if suppose I need to get back to the track, then what is to be done? That solution can be taken out by the project manager. So that is basically the monitoring and control phase. Closing phase releases the final deliverables and hand over the project documentation to the business. As soon as my project gets completed, the procedure for handing over to the customer is taken place, right? So whenever I have developed some project that has to be given to the customer, then the formal documentation, the formalities, the legal documentation has been done. So that all comes under closing phase. Okay. So this is basically my project life cycle. It has a 5 phases: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closing. Okay. Depending on a project, these phases are adjusted depending on the project requirements. The execution methodology will be selected. Then we'll see what are the different project attributes. The first project attribute is a time frame. So whenever we take any project, it can be a simple software, it can be a simple game application, it can be a simple web application, or any part of a software or a hardware or anything. That is nothing but that gives something as a result. That is nothing but my project. So each and every project has a time frame. So time frame is nothing but my start date and end date. If suppose I have undertaken in some project today, so my start date will be the today's date, and I'm going to complete it by suppose 31st July. Then my end date will be the 31st July. So that time, that 1 month time period is called as a time frame. So that time frame is a most important project attribute, as depending on the time frame, all the other activities are dependent. If suppose that project is a new in a market, that there is a competition going on between two different companies, then time frame plays the most important role. Okay. The next is purpose. Whenever we take any project, we have to check the purpose for that project. If similar type of a thing is already existing in a market, then there won't be any necessity of implementing similar things with some additional features, is not that necessary, right? So finding a purpose is a main important thing in a project. So that is nothing but you are calculating the scope of my project. Okay. So that is nothing but your focus. The next is your ownership. Ownership is nothing but the client, whenever decides to have some project, the ownership is given to the institute or organization that is completing that project. After completion of that project, all the legal documentation is done that this project belongs to this company. So that is nothing but the ownership. The next part is resources. Resources can be in terms of technical resources, can be in terms of physical resources, that this much space is required or something like that. It can be in terms of human resource, that I need skilled employees or I need the workers or something like that. Those are resources. So resources plays the most important role. Without resources, any project, it is difficult to complete any type of a project. So resources plays the most important role. Thus, it is a project attribute. The next is a role. Role is nothing but what is your role in the project that you are developing. It can be a project manager, it can be a tester, it can be a system engineer, it can be an analyst, it can be a accountant, it can be anything, right? So the roles that are defined in a project charter plays the important role. Each and every person follows the hierarchy. So all the hierarchies are follows and followed, and depending on those hierarchy, the roles are defined. The next important part is risk and assumptions. What do you mean by this? Risk is an uncertainty that if that event happens, then my project may lead to a failure or my project may get in trouble, right? So that is nothing but a risk. So risk can be identified if I have the skilled workers who have worked on a similar type of project before, then it is easy to identify those risks. Otherwise, we can handle the risk as soon as that risk happens. Risk can be proactive, risk can be reactive. If we know that this type of a risk may happen in the project, so that chances, if suppose those chances are very less, like 0.001, then then also we can calculate the risk management. That is nothing but RMM. That is risk mitigation, monitoring, and management. That is, if suppose that risk happens, then what is my mitigation step? That is nothing but what is my avoidance step? How do I monitor that risk? If that risk happens and mitigation fails, then how I'm going to monitor that risk, that the risk can be minimized. And if suppose that is not possible to minimize the risk, what is my alternative solution? That is nothing but the management. So those assumptions are required. Okay. That is another project attribute called as risk and assumption. The next part that is most important attribute for the project is interdependent task. So it happens basically that suppose I'm working on a project and some part of a project has been developed by some another team, and depending on that team's output, I'll be working further, right? So there are dependencies in between the project. If that model gets delayed, then my work also will get delayed. So all those dependencies needs to be tracked very well so that they won't hamper the project schedule, right? So these are my project attributes. So we'll quickly see what are the different project attributes that we have seen. That is, first is a time frame, second is purpose, third is ownership, fourth are the resources, fifth are the roles, sixth is a risk and assumption, and seven is a interdependent task. These are basically the main project attributes. Apart from this, as per the dependencies on the project, as per the requirements for the project, different project attributes can be incorporated. Okay, just give me a moment. The next important part in the project management is a triple constraint. So basically what happens is whenever I find any project, I have the defined scope, right? That scope is nothing but the purpose for that project. So suppose I have finalized to complete two modules in my scope, okay? So scope is something that is main part of my project, and to complete that scope, if suppose it is estimated that I require the 2 months, okay, so there is a scope, there is a schedule and a budget. So suppose I have identified the 10 features in my scope. To complete those 10 features, I require 2 months of time period. Okay. If suppose this happens that due to uncertainties, due to some risk, due to some unavailability of resources, this time period has been shifted from 2 months to 3 months. Okay, it has been shifted from 2 months to 3 months. Now, what will happen? I have calculated my budget as per the 2 months plan. What are all the salaries that have been given to the human resources, all the tools, all the technologies, all the rented space, or something like that have been calculated as per the 2 months process. But if my project is being delayed, then my budget will also increase because I need to give the salaries to the employees who are working. I need the resources, I need the physical space, I need the uh, technologies, I need the tools cost, I need the internet connection cost. So all those things come into the picture, and that will hamper my triple constraint. That is, if my scope is stable but my schedule increases, my budget increases. If my schedule is fixed and scope increases, my budget increases because the number of tools required for that overcoming that scope will be more. So it has to be in an equilibrium so that if my scope and schedule increases, my budget increases. So scope, schedule, and budget must remain in a sort of equilibrium to support a particular project goal. This relationship is referred to as a triple constraint. In an interview, it might ask that what is triple constraint, or what is the relationship between scope, schedule, and a budget. So it is basically a relationship between scope, schedule, and a budget. If the scope increases, my schedule increases. If my scope is fixed, but due to some uncertainty, my schedule increases, my budget increases. So this is called as triple constraint. I hope it is clear to you all. If you have any questions, you can type it in a chat box. We'll take it towards the end of the session. Okay, just give me a moment. The next part of project management is PMBOK. So what do you mean by PMBOK? A project management body of knowledge. So basically, it is a document available from the PMI, that is a Project Management Institute, a non-profit organization with the more than 55,000 members worldwide who contribute in the terms of project management. Their experiences are documented in the form of PMBOK. So basically, PMBOK you can refer to as a guidebook for the project managers. So original document was published in 1987, and updated versions provides a basis for identifying and describing the generally accepted principles and practices of project management. So basically there are different PMBOK areas that are required to learn in terms of we are learning the project management. The recent updation that has been done is on the 1st July 2021. The seventh edition of PMBOK has been released. Okay. So what are the different areas for the project management body of knowledge? So first is a integration. How do we integrate? What is a basically integration works? So that is all about the project integration management. Next is scope management, time management, cost management, quality management, human resources management, communication management, risk management, procurement management, and stakeholder management. Okay, so these are basically the different areas for the PMBP. We are going to see each and everything in detail, that what happens in each and every area. So we'll start with the integration management. The integration management focuses on coordinating the project's plan development, execution, and control of the changes. So whenever I have multiple teams developing that project, the part of project integration management is to coordinate the project plans for what is a development, what is a execution stage is doing. So all those things are part of my integration management. Next is the scope management. What do you mean by scope? Scope is nothing but the purpose for that project. So managing that scope is very essential, because it might happen that while developing the business case, that is nothing but while developing the requirement, while getting the requirements from the customer, it may happen that customer has just listed few requirements. As soon as the project progress, customer adds on the requirements, but it is difficult to complete, because then the project will get never ending, right? So focusing on the scope is the most important. The project scope is a work to be completed by the project team. The project management provides the assurance that the project work is defined accurately and completely, and it is completed as per the. In addition, the scope management includes ways to ensure that the proper scope change procedures are in place. So if suppose over the time period, those requirements are outdated and there needs to have a scope change. Scope change is nothing but additional functionalities can be added. Then we need to recalculate and re-estimate all the things that have been needed for that. The next is a time management. Time is a most crucial thing in part of project management. So the time management is important for developing, monitoring, and managing the project schedule. It includes the identifying the project phases and activities, then estimating, sequencing, and assigning the resources for each and every activities to ensure that the project scopes and objectives are met. So whenever we talk about the time management, we need to track the system, that at which point of time, which resources are needed, which part, at which point of time, what all things are needed, right? So all those things come into the picture in part of project time management. Okay, just give me a moment. The next part is project cost management. Cost management assures that the project budget is developed and it is completed and approved. So what happens in cost management? We need to track on what are the resources, we need to track on what are the tools required. So all those things doesn't come at free of cost. So charges for each and everything, each and every resources, right? So The part of cost management is to estimate that how much budget is required to accomplish the resources, right? So that part is consists of cost management. We are going to see the estimations in today's lecture, that how to estimate the things, right? The next is project quality management. Quality management focuses on planning, developing, and managing the quality environment that allows project to meet or exceed the stakeholders' needs and expectations. Quality management is the most important thing in any part of a project, because if there is not a quality product, it is not fitted for the market, because it may happen that people may not use it, right? So quality management comes into the picture in each and every part of the project. So to improve the quality, we may increase the number of test cases, and we may apply the different testing strategies to improve the quality. The next part is human resource management. Human resource management is the most important resource on a project, because without having the employees to work on that project, this project will not be completed, right? So to have the successful completion, we need to have proper human resource management. Human resource management focuses on creating and developing the project team, as well as understanding the and responding the appropriately to the behavior side of the project management. So what happens in this? HR manager or a HR is appointed in each and every company. The role of that HR is to check out that what is that project, what is that person's role, what are the work that have been done by that person, and depending on that, assigning them in the teams whenever it is required. So that is all about human resource management. The next is project communication management. Communication management entails that the communicating timely and accurate information about the project to the project stakeholder is important. So whenever there is a customer, whenever there is a company employee, informing to the customer that this is the project status, whether it is delayed, whether it needs the whether it is going over budget, whether it needs any certain requirements, that is certain tools or something like that, then that has to be communicated through proper channel and through the proper position, right? So it will help to have the proper communication in between client and customer, client and employees. The next part of PMBOK, that is eighth area, is project risk management. All projects face a certain amount of risk. A project risk management is concerned with identifying and responding appropriately to the risk that impact the project. So, handling the different type of a risk is a part of a risk management that will help me to understand the risk on upfront basis, so that I can have an alternative solution to it, right? So that is about the risk management. The next is procurement management. Projects often require resources, people, software, etc. that are outside the organization. The procurement management makes the certain that these resources are acquired properly. So it might happen in certain projects that we need to outsource some things, right? So all those outsourcing, how to give the contract, how to outsource the resources, or how to outsource the services. So all those things come under project procurement management. So procurement management will help me to understand what are the standard procedure to procurement management, why do we need the procurement management, what part of a project can be procured or can be outsourced from different companies. So all those things comes under project procurement management. The next is project stakeholder management. The last area of PMBOK is stakeholder management. The stakeholder management includes the processes required to to identify the people, group, or organizations that could impact or be impacted by the project, to analyze the stakeholder expectations and their impact on the project, and to develop the appropriate management strategies for effectively engaging stakeholders in a project decision and execution. So the stakeholders plays the most important role in a project. Without stakeholders, no project has been fully complete. So taking a decision or taking an opinion from the stakeholder is an important, right? Under stakeholder management. So I hope you are cleared with the different PMBOK areas. So we have seen the integration management, scope management, time management, cost management, quality management, HR management, communication management, risk management, procurement management, and stakeholder management. These 10 are the project areas, project project management body of knowledge areas, right? So these are as per the 6th edition of PMBOK. The 7th edition has been released on 1st July. Okay, so we'll quickly move towards the next topic, that is estimation. So whatever part we have seen today till now was a part of project management. Now we'll see what we mean by the estimation, and then we'll continue the lecture in the form of what do you mean by the quality management and quality control. Okay, just give me a moment. So what do you mean by the estimation? So estimation is a process of finding. So estimation is a process of finding an estimate, an approximation, which is value that is usable for some purpose, even if the input data may be incomplete, uncertain, or unstable. So estimate is nothing but we are calculating the things that we may require in future project, right? So what are the different software estimation techniques? So there are multiple techniques available, right? But the top 4 techniques that we will be covering today, that is a Delphi technique, work breakdown structure, 3-point estimation, and functional point. So we'll start with what do you mean by Delphi technique. Delphi technique is one of the oldest technique that is widely used in software testing estimation technique. In the Delphi method, it is based on a surveys and basically collects the information from the participants who are the experts. In the estimation technique, each task is assigned to the each team member, and over the multiple rounds, surveys are conducted unless and until the final estimation task is not finalized. In each and every round, through the tasks that are gathered, the feedback has been provided. By using this method, you can get the quantitative and qualitative results. In overall techniques, this technique receives a good confidence in estimation. The technique can be used with a combination of the techniques that are available for the software estimations. So Delphi techniques makes use of surveys. Different surveys are taken out. So you might be knowing that you might be receiving the mails or WhatsApp links that kindly give the feedback, kindly give the suggestions, or do you have any suggestions, then kindly fill out this form. So all those surveys will help to answer me or to find out me what is the current solution, what can be the estimates that can be made from that survey. So that is nothing but my benefiting. the next most important part in project management is WBS. WBS is also known as work breakdown structure. It is a key project deliverable that organizes the teamwork into the manageable sections. The PMBOK defines the work breakdown structure as deliverable oriented hierarchical decomposition of the work to be executed by the project team. So each and every word in this definition is most important because it is an deliverable oriented. Deliverable oriented is nothing but from undertaking that project, some deliver is expected. So that's the reason it is deliverable oriented. Hierarchical decomposition. Hierarchical decomposition is nothing but, just a second, just change the color. Hierarchical decomposition is nothing but defining the task that the most full project is of 100% complete. So dividing that project in some parts, that suppose 40%, 30%, 30%. Further dividing that 40% task into half. That is suppose 20%, 20%. So till the time I do not achieve the smallest part of my task, that is unit, till the time I can continue the breaking down of the work. So that is nothing but my work breakdown structure. The work breakdown structure is useful tool for developing the project plan and links the project scope to the schedule and budget with the help of Gantt chart. So you all must be knowing what the Gantt charts are. So all those activities that are there in a work breakdown structure will be taken it directly as a part of a Gantt chart. And start date and end date for each and every task has been calculated. And depending on that, the dependencies that are there in the different tasks can be identified so that we can manage the resources. If suppose two of the activities are starting on the same day, like suppose on 15th of July, and I just have the one resource available, then I can check that if another activity can be delayed or preponed so that I do not need to manage the resources extra, right? So all those things comes under WPS. Just give me a moment. So there is one more concept in WBS that is called as work package. A work package can be viewed as an hierarchy that starts with the project itself. The project is then decomposed into the phases, with each phase having one or more deliverable as defined in deliverable definition table and chart. So if you can see over here in the diagram, there is a project. Okay, just a second. Yeah, there is a project. That project is divided into multiple phases. So suppose this is my 100% of the project that has been divided into the phases of suppose 40, 30, 30. Okay. So these phases are subdivided into different phases. Then each and every phase has a deliverable. That deliverable can be from the activity or a task or can be worked as a milestone, or else that phase can itself acts as a milestone, that is phase completion. So this is basically the overview of a WPS. A big project is made manageable by first breaking it down to the individual components in a hierarchical structure is known as WBS, that is work breakdown structure. It helps the project manager and team to create the task scheduling, the detailed cost estimation for the project. By using the WBS motions, the project manager and team will have a pretty good idea whether or not they have captured all the necessary tasks based on a project requirements which are going to need to happen to get the job done. In this technique, the complex project is divided into smaller parts. The modules are subdivided into sub-modules, smaller modules. Each sub-modules are further divided into the functionalities, and each functionalities can be divided into sub-functionalities. After the breakdown, the work for all functionalities should review to check whether each and every functionality has been covered in an WBS. There are multiple rules to divide the functionalities. Using this, you can easily figure out what are the all tasks to be completed and they have breakdown into the detailed task or not, so that estimation to the detailed task can be easily done over the complex parts. So what are the different estimation technique? The third technique is 3-point estimation. The 3-point estimation is an estimation method based on a statistical data that has been available for the project. It is very much similar to the WBS technique. Tasks are broken down into the subtasks and 3 types of estimations are done on this subtask. That is, first is optimistic estimate. So optimistic estimate, we can consider it as A. Okay. So the first is optimistic estimate. The best case scenario in which nothing goes wrong and all the conditions are optimal is known as optimistic estimate. Most likely estimate. Most likely duration, and there may be some problem, but most of the things goes right is known as most likely estimate, that will define it as M. And the last is permissive estimate. The worst case scenarios which where everything goes wrong, that is denoted by B. So to calculate, to estimate, we have the proper derivation for this. So the formula to estimate is A plus 4 into M plus B divided by 6. So that value will give me the proper estimation about the time and cost. The next estimation method is functional point method. A functional point is measured from a functional or a user point of view. It is dependent of computer language, capability, technology, or development methodology of the team. It is based on available documents like SRS design, etc. The FP technique we use to give the weightage to each and every functional point. Prior to start, actual estimating tasks, the functional points are divided into 3 groups like complex, medium, and simple. Based on the similar projects and organization standards that we define the estimate as per the function points. The efforts can be calculated as total number of functional points into estimate defined per function point. So we can get the effort. As soon as we can get the effort, we can calculate the schedule and cost. So this is nothing but my fourth method, that is functional point method. I hope it is clear to you all till now. If you have any questions in this, you can type it in a chat box. We can take those questions towards the end of the session. Okay. So we are going to see the next estimation that is most widely used in each and every industry, that is top-down estimation. Just give me a moment. The next estimation or budgeting technique is called as top-down estimation. What happens in a top-down estimation or a budgeting? A top-down budgeting refers to the budgeting method where senior management prepares the high-level budget for the company. The company's senior management prepares the budget based on its objectives and then passes it towards the different department managers for the implementation. Sometimes a manager may put forward the suggestions for the budget before the budget preparation. Whether their contribution to the budgeting process will be used or not is a management discussion. After the budget is created, the management makes a specific allocation to the different departments, which must then create their own budget based on the budget allocation and goals. What happens in top-down estimation? During the top-down budgeting, the company's management consider the past experiences and the current market conditions. They use the previous year's budget and financial statement as a benchmark on marketing and allocating to the different departments and functions. The senior management may take an input from a lower level management, which may help to acknowledge the concerns of the regular staff who are tested with implementing the budget, who are tasked with implementing the budget. They also consider internal and external influences such as prevailing economic conditions, changes in tax legislation, margin pressure, or increase or decrease in salary or cost, profitability levels, etc. So depending on that, the top-down budget has been calculated. So we'll see what is the procedure for top-down budgeting. So the top-down budgeting process starts with a senior management meeting to come up with the objectives for the year. They discuss and determine high-level targets for the company in terms of sales, expenses, and profits. When formulating these figures, the management takes into the account the contribution of each and every department in a previous year revenues. Usually, the department managers and low-level staff do not participate in the meeting but may put forward suggestions for the consideration. Once management finishes the preparing the target, the objectives are passed on to the finance department and goes on till the time it does not receive to the employees. What happens after it received to the department level budget? Once the finance department assigns the allocation to the various departments, the department managers takes the target and prepare the budget on their own. Ideally, the work of department manager is to take the revenue and cost estimate and develop a budget that shows how the department will spend the allocated funds to generate the desired revenues. Department level budget should include the specifics of expected expenditures like purchasing the computer or an office requirement or salaries, such as the projected number of products that the department aims to sell generates a revenue. Advantages of top-down budget. What can be the advantages for top-down budgeting? So whenever in top-down budgeting, senior management decides the budget and then pass it on to the different departments. So the advantage of this can be overall growth of the organization can be checked. Just It makes department aware of what top management expects from them. It is quick way for preparing the budget and helps to overcome the interdepartmental issues that it might happen. There might be some departmental issues that some part of the budget has been given more to the some XYZ department than the other department. So that that can be removed with the help of top-down budgeting. Saves the time for lower management as well as rather than preparing the budget from the scratch, each department gets a set goal. This saves the time and resources. Under the top-down budgeting, the management creates only one budget rather than allowing the departments to create their own budget to combine them later on. It is a less tedious approach. Disadvantages. Since the manager are not part of the budget making process, they are not feel motivated to ensure their success. Since the senior managers are not much aware of day-to-day operations of the department, they may set the unrealistic targets. This results in lower level management in finding it difficult to meet the set numbers. Such type of budgeting may often lead over the under allocation of resources. So we'll quickly see what happens over here. It is a top-down management and this is a bottom-up management. In top-down management, management decides the amount that suppose this year we are going to give only suppose $10,000 as my budget to the companies. So those $10,000 are divided in different teams as per their requirements. Okay. Whereas in bottom-up management, all the teams put up the proposal to the management. That suppose team A, B, and C. Okay. If suppose team A says that I need the $5,000, team B says that I need the $2,000, team C says that I need $5,000. Right. So depending on these, the proposals are sent to the management. The proposals are analyzed. And depending on that, the amount for budget has been recalculated. So suppose it might happen that team C has overestimated and sent the proposal. And if that management feels that we should not give the $5,000 to team C, instead of which we can give only $4,000, then the negotiation can be done between the team manager and a management. Okay, so this is nothing but my bottom-up estimation. We are going to see bottom-up estimation in detail. So what happens in bottom-up budgeting? The bottom-up budgeting starts at the department level and then moves to the top management. Each department within the organization is required to compile the list of the things it needed for the project as the plans carry out in the next financial period and cost estimates. The estimate of all the departments are then summed up to get the overall company budget. The managers of each and every department are required to give their input since they know the cost estimates for the project to be implemented. The top management approves the revise and send it back to the modification. After top management approves all the departmental budget, it comes up with the master budget. So as we have seen, each and every department manager puts up their proposal, and upon the acceptance of the proposal, the re-estimations can be done and then sent back to the department. So this is basically a diagram that can be seen. So each and every cost for that department has been calculated and a department proposal is sent for the top management. So each and every department sends a proposal. So overall total budget will be calculated in the bottom-up budgeting. Now, just give me a moment. What do you mean by what is a process of bottom-up budgeting? So the first step in bottom-up budgeting process is nothing but identify the individual components of the business. So first step when creating the bottom-up budget is to identify the individual components of the business and projects that the organization plans to carry out in coming financial year. Okay, so the proposal that has been sent to the organization for the funds is for the whole financial year, not for the particular month. Okay, list the components and a project that established to estimate the cost to be incurred. What can be the revenues that can be generated from the project can also be part of this. For example, a department may include the cost like wages for the employees, furnitures and fittings, equipment to purchase, any new person hires, the administrative cost, the conferences fees, the infrastructure fees. So all those things comes into the picture when we ask the departments to create the budget. The next thing is to get the sum of cost projections of each and every department. After department finishes the preparing the list of planned projects and expenditures, the cost should be added up to get the total budget for the department so that it will be easy to identify what is the cost projection for each and every department. The next thing is to sum up the budgets of all the departments that are present in the organization. After getting the budget of all the departments or identified projects, the budget should be summed up to get the overall budget for the organization. The total should be obtained from the departmental heads or a heads of a project appointed by the organization's management. And the last step is to submit for the approval. The final step of a bottom-up budgeting process is to submit the budget estimate to the management for the approval. When reviewing the budget, the management is interested in knowing if the budgets are aligned with the goals and objectives that the company wants to achieve in the next financial year. If satisfied with the budget, the management will approve the budget estimate and will send it to the individual departments. However, if the company's leadership is not satisfied with the budget estimate, they can ask department managers to make the changes before the budget is again submitted for the approval. So this goes on till the management approves that budget. So depending on the project required, the project needs, the organization goals and objective, whether to apply the top-down budgeting or bottom-up budgeting process, it is dependent on that organization's structure. What are the advantages of bottom-up budgeting? The first is a better accuracy. Bottom-up budgeting calculates the budget estimate from the lowest level, which will help to boost the accuracy and accountability of the budget. The process involves individual in each and every department, and estimates will be as close as possible to reality, since the employees are better placed to understand the cost, resources, expenses, requirements of the respective departments. When the estimates for all the departments are added up to get the overall budget, the senior management should know what to expect in the upcoming year. Just a second. The next advantage is employee motivation. What happens? When employees are involved in budget making process, they are motivated to work hard to achieve the organization's goal. The employee in each department of the organizations are involved in formulating the budget estimates, giving them the sense of ownership in the budget making process, and they feel that they are the important part of organization. So that is basically the advantages of bottom-up budgeting. So we have completed the two main topics for the day, that is project management and estimations. Now we are in the third part, that is software quality control. Okay. So quality quality is nothing but the standards that are applied, the characteristics of that software. So each and every software or each and every product should be a quality product so that it can be stand in market without any competition. So quality matters. So software quality control is a set of standards produced standard procedures followed by any organization or institute or any standard set by an international group based on a standard reference for the quality product to ensure the efficient deliverables to meet the customer satisfaction or customer requirements. So all the standards that are followed to improve the quality is nothing but the quality control. So what are the benefits of quality control? Software system or a product efficiency can be increased. Yes, if that product is a quality product, then the sales will be increased. So the efficiency can be increased. The product defects can be minimized before the delivery. If I apply the different quality standards, then product defects can be identified at the early stage. So those can be minimized before the delivery of the product. Development time can be reduced. Yes, if the defects are minimized, then the reworking on those defects, that time can be minimized. So the development time can be reduced. Customer satisfactory index can be improved. If the customer is satisfied, it will automatically do the mouth publicity that the product is good, the quality is good, and that will improve the sales and revenues for that company. The strong trust and relationship can be established with the client. If suppose a person is buying a product from some XYZ company and he's totally satisfied with that product, then it might happen that customer will try the another products that have been launched by that company. So that strong trust and relationship can be established if the quality of the product has been given properly. Faster application development with a smaller number of defects. If there are less defects, there won't be any reworking or there won't be any changes that has to be done to that product, right? So that is one of the benefit if we apply the quality standards or a quality control is in its place. What are the steps or processes involved in a quality control procedure? So there are basically two phases, reviewing phase and testing phase. So in reviewing phase, we review the requirement analysis, that is whatever the requirements that are stated by the customer are met or not, we need to check that. Design phase, we need to check the design is appropriate or not. Code build and development, application or code development, test plan phase, and implementing test cases are nothing but my reviewing phase. And the second phase is testing phase, where each and every unit has been tested using integration testing, unit testing, system integration testing, non-functional and user acceptance testing. Okay, so different testing methodologies are applied on a product to improve the quality of the product, so that whenever we apply the quality standards, it will be easy to find out where we are lagging and what are the plus and minus points for that product. What are the different types of quality control parameters available in software quality control? So the first parameter is product. The product are the customer's actual requirement, which are to be delivered with the most zero defect. If suppose there are defects, then the quality is hampered. So the first type of quality control parameter comes into the picture in terms of products. So the products can be a quality product. Just a second. Processes. The second part is a processes. The processes are set of rules or procedures to be followed while testing the software system or to produce the ensure that the best product deliverable. The set of processes will ensure the testing procedures to be carried out efficiently, so it tests the complete product without missing any functional or non-functional inabilities as per the customer requirement or specification. Third parameter is resources. Resources to be deployed are to be very efficient in terms of a team or a tools or technology that we are using. Testing procedures can be followed either by automatic or by manual based on a budget of the project. If the manual, then the efficient resources should be available in the team in order to avoid any manual errors. In contrast, the automated testing also needs the technical professional to be deployed. So each and every parameter has certain quality criteria, right? So the product has different criteria like correctness, efficiency, integrity, reliability, usability. Those can be checked in terms of product. In terms of processes, maintainability, flexibility, testability, portability, reusability, those all the terms that can be checked in terms of processes, product, and resources. So that will help me to improve my quality control. So that was all about the software quality. There are different quality standards available for the software like McCall's quality factor, Six Sigma, and ISO 9126. Depending on the software product, those are applied. Okay. So that's it for the today's lecture. So we have seen in today's lecture what do you mean by project, what do you mean by project management, what are the project attributes, what is PMBOK, what is triple constraint. Then we have started with what do you mean by estimation, what are the different estimation techniques, Delphi technique, 3-point estimation, WPS, top down and bottom up budgeting. Then we have started with what do you mean by quality, what do you mean by quality control, what are the different quality parameters. So all those things we have seen. In an interview, you may be asked what are the responsibilities of some XYZ person, that can be a role that you are applying, right? So if you suppose you are applying as a developer, so they may ask you the what are your responsibilities being a developer or being a tester. So all those responsibilities should be known. So basically, whenever you are applying in a company, whenever you are giving an interview in a company, the position for which you are applying, that description of that position should be known to you. What are the responsibilities for that position should be known to you. Okay. What can be, there can be the scenarios as that how to estimate this or what can be done in this situation. So all those type of questions, the scenario based questions can be asked in terms of software engineering and project management. So that was our third and last lecture on the software engineering and project management. If you have any further queries in terms of software engineering and project management for your interviews, you can anytime reach me at dipali.srikhande@vit.edu.in. If you have any questions, then we can answer them. Akshata ma'am, are there any questions?
Hello. No question is there in chat box, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we can stop the lecture.
Okay.